Huh? What's up, YouTube land? Welcome back to Shadow Generation. It is, I think by the time this video's up, it'll be either Thanksgiving Day or right around, so happy friggin' Thanksgiving. May you get all the turkeys that you want under the turkey tree. Unfortunately, we already have the Christmas tree up. It was just put up today. I do like Christmas trees a lot, but that means that baby's going to be up for like 2 months.
I love Christmas. I heard Christmas music on the radio like before Halloween, like a day before Halloween. I was like, come on.
It's just brutal. It's just brutal. All of December, I accept it. That's fine. Luckily, this year, we're pretty late in the month already. Thanksgiving is like 3 days before December. Sometimes Thanksgiving can be like pretty early. It can be like almost like near November 20th or whatever. But this year, it's like the 29th or something.
So this part's going to be pretty short. There's only 5 levels in this mode.
Oh, you're going to finish it?
We're just going to... I don't have the final boss done. I'm just going to do the 5th level and all the challenges you have to do.
Woo!
And this power is very weird. It took me a while to like even understand what's happening.
So they give you this power and then you do one level with it?
Yeah.
Very interesting.
Yeah, that power is very specific. You're like, it's like a water thing. Like, what's the difference between this and like the glider that I'm using right now? But this power you can only use when there's like blue balls hovering in the air. And I just noticed that the one I was using to get to the level wasn't there, so I guess I had to do something specific first.
What does that remind me? Oh! That reminds me of the chocobos in FF7 Rebirth. Like, the chocobo that, like, flies over top of the water, and it's like, you have to fly over this type of water. Just, like, be very specific.
The blue chocobo is pretty cool, but all the other ones are very context sensitive.
Yeah, that really reminded me of that. I talked to multiple people that were like, yeah, I was 100%ing the game, and then I got to Gongaga, and I didn't understand the chocobo stuff, like where to go, and I was like, yep. I just literally looked it all up, and they were like, well, I quit at that point. Excuse me, on 100%ing, not on beating the game, but I was like, yep, that seems to be the exact moment that everyone was like, yep, I am good, thank you.
Yeah, Gongaga's ridiculous.
Why's everything gotta be confusing, bros? So, in good news, I don't know if the next game I'm gonna be playing after I beat Silent Hill 2 is that Bridge Curse game, because I found, another, probably the weirdest game I've ever played in my life. I forget the name of it. I just started like an hour, like not an hour ago, literally, but like an hour into it. I'm gonna figure out what it's called. What? It is called Indika. Indika.
Never heard of it.
It's an indie game. You play as a nun in like early 1900s Russia. A nun that everyone in the nunnery hates for reasons that we don't understand quite yet. She seems completely normal, but literally all the other nuns hate her. And it's a mixture of like almost a choose-your-own-adventure and an action platformer and an 8-bit arcade game. It is probably the most bizarre game I've played in years.
Interesting.
And it like follows no rules, which I like. Sometimes it asks you to do things and then immediately like undoes it just to show you like how much it sucks to be a nun. Especially back then, especially in a place where everyone hates you. So that might be the next game I do. Man, I've been enjoying the heck out of it. I just love games that, don't follow any preconceived rules, and they're just like, well, we're gonna do what we want to.
Yeah, sometimes that's cool, sometimes it is not.
Yeah, no, I get it. I mean, it's certainly better than, like, all the AAA stuff nowadays that's, like, just the same thing over and over again. So I will happily take that. I also understand the games that I like are not even close to for everyone. I would say it's probably for, like, a very certain demographic. I'm not even saying that, like, oh, it's better that way.
Oh
like,
my god, I hate the controls for that thing are so weird.
I wish I liked, like, normal AAA games. It would certainly be a lot easier to find stuff. Although I do like Sonic. I would play this if Trevor wasn't already doing the LP of it.
Yeah, this game definitely feels like an expansion off of Sonic Generations because there's a lot of mechanics. It gets kind of confusing, especially when there's like they introduce more mechanics like every single level.
Right.
And the most complicated one is like no. Most complicated one is just for one level, and it's really weird.
Do you think that this would lead to like the next Sonic game? Like, do you think this is kind of like a dry run for a potential next Sonic game to like include Shadow and Ernest and have all this stuff?
It's possible.
Like, why make?
I definitely just see this more as just chilling the movie.
Yeah, I guess that makes sense. But like, why add all these very unique things if you're only going to use it that one time? I don't know.
It is weird. I mean, there's 4 more missions we have to do, so it's not like completely wasted, but it's just a very specific power-up on top of a bunch of other power-ups. Oh yeah. Act 2, right.
Let's go.
But yeah, I definitely like this sort of Sonic game compared to Sonic Frontiers, but I think like the next game is going to be more like Sonic Frontiers because it's sold really well.
Yeah, that sold really well. Sonic, what's Sonic Superstars like? Because that did not seem to sell very well.
That was like a very blatant like 2D nostalgia game, but instead of like Sonic Mania was great because it was done by like the most talented like fan dev who's been like he did like the Sonic like CD like iOS ports and like he like just is like a king at the Sonic engine and just like physics in general. So like when Sonic Mania was like announced and like you knew who was making it, it was like, okay, this game's gonna be like incredible, and it was. The only bad thing about Sonic Mania is that it just too many revisits of old Sonic levels, but that was like a Sega mandate. But then, for some reason, after Sonic Mania was a huge success and sold really well, got this like the best reviewed Metacritic Sonic game by like a country mile. For some reason, they got freaking Arzest to make Sonic Superstars, and Arzest is awful. They made like Yoshi New Island, like that 3DS game, and like a bunch of other shovelware. It's like, why? Why did you do this?
Has the guy who did Mania done anything since?
I think they might have worked on that Sonic Origins Plus collection, but I know that got like kind of screwed over by like management, and it ended up being released kind of like half finished. It's like, why can't like Sega or Sonic Team just like hang on to a good thing instead of like, oh, here's the best game? It almost feels like it's like jealousy. Like it's like, oh, Sonic Mania came out and it was like the best game ever. And then immediately afterwards, they released Sonic Forces, which got like it has like a 55 on Metacritic. It's just so generic and average, and it just makes Sonic Team look like a joke. It almost feels like it's just hubris, being like, "Get those guys out of here! They're making us look good. Get Arzest because he suck."
Well,
I love this power up.
Do you remember what
It almost feels like what Pokemon did for the Pokemon Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl remakes. Were made by like this no-name mobile game developer who literally at that point hadn't made like a single actual game. It's like, why would you give this team the Pokemon license? It's like the only reason I can see is because Game Freak was like, you can't make a better game than us. Just get this no-name cheap mobile dev who literally hasn't made a game, and it comes out, it's like trash, and it's like, oh look, Game Freak's good. I don't know. I feel like I'm being maybe a little bit cynical, but why else would they
choose
such a no-name developer to make remakes of games?
It makes no sense, especially in Pokemon's thing, because they have, like, unlimited budget. Like, sorry, they do. It's gonna sell. Do you remember when Elden Ring and then later Baldur's Gate 3 came out, what a bunch of devs were saying on Twitter?
What game? I wasn't listening.
Elden Ring and like later Baldur's Gate. They pretty much said about the same thing.
Oh, they were just like...
Remember they were just like, a lot of them were like, you know, the fact that Elden Ring does so many things is actually bad because it'll lead people who play games to expect more from games, and that's bad because you can't always deliver like this. And it's like, oh my god, the cope, the absolute cope. Like, what they should be is like, wow, like, Elden Ring's not a game for me, I'll never play it. But, like...
It's clearly a game with, like, a million things to do, and if you like Souls games, it's probably the best one, I guess.
Yeah. And, like, that's fine, that's fine. Like,
also sold incredibly.
But I can tell how amazingly, made it is. And if I was a dev, I would look at it and be like, in awe. I would be like, wow, how did you guys do this? How can we learn from this? How can we make our stuff better? But instead of doing that, a lot of people were like, actually, this sets a dangerous precedent that every single game that comes out, people will expect Elden Ring quality, and it's like, yeah, why can't we? Like, why can't?
It's also a joke because like the FromSoft is like such a tiny studio compared to like any AAA Western studio. And it's like, why can't these studios with 1 million people and $1 million of budget, or $1 billion of budget, make a game that's good? Oh, dude, this scene. I laughed so hard when I watched this today.
Sonic defeated you. What happened?
Nice.
It's not as funny the second time, but people that were crying about censorship for Rouge, it's just like they obviously just showed off her butt. It's like, come on, guys. Why else would they use that?
Yeah,
camera
it's very obvious.
Look at you.
Yeah, I mean, it's the same. Like, I guarantee, if they did an actual audit of themselves as a company, these big AAA ones, they could probably lay off 50% of their staff and like not have that much of a negative, downfall to that.
And I think they know that. That's why they're just so... they get up in arms over just the most minute of things. Oh, you made a good game? This is gonna kill us. How could you expect good games? It's like, what?
Yeah. I mean, it's the same thing with I'm not gonna do a political thing, but it's the same thing with, Elon wants to do a thing where, they're figuring out government, efficiency. Doge. And, like, your average person is like, okay, yeah, let's see what happens, because, like, it really seems like the government is very, like, bloated, and there's a lot of nonsense. Who are the people that are very, very upset about it? The government employees making, like, $100,000 a year, and they know they don't earn that much. They know it, so they're like, oh, we can't ever let this happen. It's like, yeah. When, like, I don't want to say 90%, a large percentage of average people are like, okay, well, I'll at least give it a chance, to see what they can do. It's the same thing with, man, I know it's social media, but whenever I see videos of people that work at, like, EA or Valve, or not Valve, some of the big companies, even Google, and they're like, the day in the life of a Google dev, and it's just like them doing literally nothing. And they get paid 6 figures. I'm like, oh my god.
I will say that those videos, as annoying as they are, and they definitely are annoying, I think they're done more to be like, hey, work for us. Look at how easy this job is.
You know what? I never thought of it that way.
I really think...
You think that, like, the higher-ups are like, hey, make this... this video, put it up, or whatever.
I've seen, like, 3 or 4 different videos. Like, the most, probably the one that you saw was, like, the Activision Blizzard one.
That's right, yeah. Yeah.
But I really think it's just like, hey, look how cushy and easy this job is. Work for us, bro. And I really think that's...
Yeah, I never thought about it that way. I never thought that, like, a higher-up might be like, hey, can you make this video and put it on your social media and just don't do any, like, don't do any work in it? That makes sense. I feel like it does the opposite, though. It just makes people seethe because they're like, are you serious?
It makes everyone else seethe other than the people that are working there.
Right.
But yeah, in any company, it's just like, HR department. It's like you can like call 80% of those jobs easy.
Oh, easily. Yeah, well, I like that. Rip. Yeah, there's just like no way. If you want to like Spider-Man 2 costs like what, $300 million, and I love efficiency. I love doing budgets and stuff like that. So Sony, hire me and be like, how do we make a game this good and only spend like $100 million, bruh? I'll take 500,000 of that 100 million, and I'll figure it out for you, and I will slash so many things. Just be like, hey, what does this person? Have you ever seen Office Space?
Yeah.
What would you say you do here? Like that's literally me with anyone. What would you say you do here?
Still the greatest protagonist of any movie.
Dude, what's his name? Peter Gibbons? Is that right? Is just so based.
I want to be that Chadley someday. All I have to do is not work for my own brother. Then I can be as lazy as possible.
Super Chadley. I love the guy when they're having those interviews and they're like, what do you say you do here? And the one guy who just starts freaking the heck out simply because he can't like put it into words exactly what he does there. It's like, oh, that is literally every single person. Oh well, I post on our social media. Oh, okay. How often per day? Well, is not really per day. Just I make sure that I delete all the negative comments. Oh yeah. Let's do this. Man, I feel. I mean.
Also, it's good that so there was 2 extra keys that I got. I was like, I wonder if you need these, but you do need them now.
Do? Okay.
Because you need 4 keys to unlock the final boss door, and it's like, well, the other save file didn't do it, so I was like, this is tedious and annoying.
One thing that I'm really excited that nature's kind of healing is there's a lot of people there's a lot of people I've seen on YouTube, and it's not people who would normally be upset about like stuff getting pretty upset about Dragon Age. And just being like, I don't literally... Because, there's the grifters that are like, oh, it's woke, everything woke is... Oh, subscribe to me, my Patreon. You know what I mean? Like, but it's not people who are like that, who are just like, this game is awful. Like, I don't understand why they're hiring these people. I don't understand what they're doing. And it's, like, really nice to see, like, your average person being like, wow, Dragon Age is, like, literally dead. Like... Why do we?
It is nice that the new Dragon Age didn't even score like that well Metacritic, and like they did everything for like journalist bait.
Oh yeah,
and
that is surprising.
I'm not saying that the game is like the worst thing ever, but it is clearly like kind of the cancer killing video games right now, all personified in like one thing. But even then, it's like they did everything to curry favor with journalists, and it's like, here's your low 80. It's like, thank God.
Yeah, it's funny because everyone says the same thing, like, hey, it starts off, like, the first hour is actually pretty good. Like, there's a lot of things happening. And then there's, like, 40 hours of crap. And then the last couple hours is good. I'm like, oh, God. And, like, by 40 hours, I mean, I assume it means, like, 80 or 100 if you do all the nonsense fetch quests. But I'm like, wow, what a way to, like, try to get in favor with people by being like, hey, the start's really good, and then there's stuff. It's like, oh god, dude.
I will say that I've seen a lot of discourse. I'm probably going to make an enemy right now. I've seen a lot of discourse of people like pretending that like Dragon Age Origins and like Mass Effect like 1 and 2 were like masterpieces, and it's like, no.
I've never played Dragon Age Origins,
definitely...
but everything I've ever heard is people saying Dragon Age Origins is like a masterpiece. Mass Effect 1, I don't think people say that. I think Mass Effect 2, people say that about.
I mean, Dragon Age Origins is clearly better than everything they put out afterwards.
Right.
I mean, 2 apparently is like... I've never played it
even back then, people did not like 2.
And Inquisition I tried for like an hour, and it had like MMO combat. I was like, I'm good. Just instantly.
Oh no. What were you just like mindlessly bashing and stuff?
It's like you just attack on like a. It's basically MMO. It's like you attack on a cooldown, and you just like you barely like touch the controller.
Oh, it's like KOTOR.
Sort of, but I felt like it was way worse.
Oh god, dude.
And also, Dragon Age Origins kind of has that combat, but it just felt like way more of an MMO. It's actually how I feel about, again, not attacking just Western companies. The Xenoblade games have that exact combat too, where it's like you just like wait around for like them to attack on their own, and then there's like cooldown skills, and it's like I am not playing this for 100 hours. I am not doing it. I don't care.
At least FF7 Rebirth's combat is fantastic.
Yes, at least that makes the 150 hours less incredibly grueling.
Yeah.
But Xenoblade games are all like, oh, they're all 80 hours long. And it's like, this is the combat for 80 hours? No, thank you.
Oh god, yeah.
I don't care how cool the story is.
What is this? A seal of some sort?
Hopefully, with Dragon Age doing poorly, it'll like... and I know things with video games takes time, like literally years. But hopefully that starts companies just being like, alright, what are we doing? I mean, Ubisoft is about to like literally not be a company anymore because of stupid decisions, you know? And it's like, when are you going to change your freaking minds?
Especially for BioWare, Mass Effect 4 is going to make or break them. And, I mean, Mass Effect 4 I think is guaranteed to sell better than a new Dragon Age game, because Dragon Age is kind of like a mid-tier IP.
Yeah, I'd say so.
But it just kind of depends. I just have this feeling that they're going to do something that... People are already super mad about the ending of Mass Effect 3. This is super unsatisfying and just, like, lazy.
Didn't they come out with a free DLC to, like, literally change it?
I don't think it was free.
Oh, rip.
I might be wrong about that, but I don't think it was free. But I just feel as if they're going to do something to just... Because that's just, like, the nature of the industry right now. It's like you take an IP that people at least like at some point, and then you do something to just crap all over it. And it's just like, what are they going to do for Mass Effect 4 that's going to be like, oh, Shepard died off-screen? I don't know.
Doesn't Shepard die at the end of 3?
Sort of?
No, the way they could do it is very easy. They could be like, actually Shepard was the bad guy all along, and here's... And they could do The Last of Us 2 with Ellie and be like, look at all this stuff you did as Shepard, you're actually evil. Even though you tried to make good decisions, you're evil.
I just don't care about Mass Effect enough to really have like an idea for something like that, because they kind of sort of did that with Mass Effect 2. Like, between Mass Effect 1, it's almost like a jump the shark moment, because like they kill off Shepard in the very beginning of Mass Effect 2, and then a pretty sketchy organization called Cerberus resurrects him because he's like, they're like, you are the ultimate soldier, serve us now. And you do that for like most of the game until eventually it's like, oh, Cerberus is bad.
Cerberus is bad, okay. I will say,
the beginning of Mass Effect 2 is pretty weird, but I think people love Mass Effect 2, so it clearly worked out for me.
the scene in Dragon Age Veilguard that everyone talks about, the scene where you're talking to parents about who you are as a person, I'll leave it at like that. I literally watched that scene in full and was like, usually I don't get embarrassed. I was like embarrassed to exist in the same world as a scene like that. I was like, holy crap. Especially in a high fantasy game. Like a Life is Strange kind of game is like whatever. I've played all of them, and they oftentimes get very like silly and preachy, but like I understand. Like it's like they're based in like 2020 in Portland or whatever. It's like you're gonna have stuff like that. But in a high fantasy game, holy crap. Or dark fantasy, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, I agree.
I was literally embarrassed.
Anything that references like modern like ideology in like a medieval time, it's like, this is so lame.
Just could not have been more lame.
I just hate that every story has to be about like current year, no matter what it is.
I think I said it in our group chat, but like the thing that bothers me most about writing nowadays in games and movies and whatever, it's like the person writing can't write about anything except themselves and their own lived experiences. And that stuff is important. It is. But, like, a lot of times you have to, like, put yourself in the shoes of the character you create. You don't create a character that is you. That's literal cringe. Like, you can, like, create characters based off people you know, or even put a little bit of yourself in it, but, like, I wouldn't, in like, a book be like, oh, this character, Brentzer Sprossman, was the greatest guy ever, and here's what he did and whatever. It's like, God, that's so cringe.
No matter what, self-inserts are always, like, turbo cringe. Especially when
it's worse than ever. They can't. It's like you're writing high fantasy and you're like, well, let me tell you about my identity. It's like, that has nothing to do with high fantasy. Make your own indie game. Make Gone Home. Make something like that.
So this actually reminds me of something specific. In Undertale was originally a Kickstarter game, and they had these very expensive, like, tier rewards of basically being able to insert your own character. I don't know if you ever played Undertale, but that Spider-Girl was like a Patreon like tier or a Kickstarter tier thing.
Wow.
But one character that ended up being like basically like a furry fetish character was this, I forget his name, but the creator of Undertale, Toby Fox, basically he had to put him in the game, but he's hidden away in the most obscure spot possible that like 99.9% of people are never going to encounter him. And because just like Toby Fox knew that this was just like the worst thing ever. It's like, that's why you don't put self-insert characters there. And like Toby Fox was like obligated to do it, but
Toby Fox seems pretty based. I haven't played Undertale, but I've seen Ferris play a fair share, and everything I've seen has been very funny and just like ridiculous. And when he was younger, he tried to do the pacifist like mode like over and over again, and it's just like very difficult to not kill anything and blah blah blah. Seems pretty cool.
Yeah, I think Undertale's it definitely has a very awful fan base.
Not his fault.
As long as you don't pay attention to that, it's a good game.
I mean, it just is. It's like
just do not interact with the fan base ever.
Do you blame Sega for Sonic's fan base? It's just like it is what it is. You can't. The only time that you can blame the person who made it is if like they go out of their way to like appease the awful fan base. Then that's bad. I learned that Toby Fox also did a lot of like Earthbound ROM hacks back in the day, and I was like, that's interesting.
He did one Earthbound ROM hack.
Okay.
I think.
I was like, that's interesting.
He's been around for a while. He's mostly been a musician, which is why Undertale's music is like 10 out of 10 GOAT of all time.
Yep.
But he actually did some Pokemon. I think he did a song in Sword and Shield and also in Scarlet and Violet.
Interesting.
Definitely Sword and Shield, but it's pretty impressive how notable he is now.
I also saw that the guy who created Stardew Valley is just like unwilling to make anything else, so he just keeps like improving and putting out patches for Stardew Valley, and he's like, I'm good. I don't really want to make anything else.
As long as people keep buying it and like the updates, I don't see any harm in it.
Yeah, what's the problem with that? And like people love Stardew Valley, and if you keep updating it, it's like whatever. It kind of reminds me of No Man's Sky after it released and after they like started putting years and years into improving it. I'm like, good for you guys.
Something calls to me.
Something. Shadow, no! Sauron, no! I like if I made an indie game that became as big as Stardew Valley or Undertale, I gotta be honest, I probably wouldn't make another one. Cause like it's what are the chances that it's gonna be as big? You know? Or what are the chances everyone's gonna be mad because it's not Undertale?
Yeah, Toby Fox made Deltarune, and he made the first 2 chapters of that like completely free.
That's cool.
Which is pretty nice. I mean, he could have easily just put out something for $10 and made another like $10 million. But I think he realized that. Because like I think Deltarune's supposed to be like 7 chapters, and chapter 3 still isn't out yet.
Wow.
It's been like 4 years.
You know who I'm just reminded of? I now remember Phil Fish. Remember that guy?
Yeah.
What did he make? Pez? Rez?
Fez.
Fez. And then nothing else.
He canceled Fez 2 over Twitter drama. That's literally a fact.
That's pretty pretty good.
So this part is really short. I haven't done this fight, but we're just gonna try it.
All right.
If I can't do it, we'll just pick it up next time. I'll give it one try.
The worst part is that Fez looks actually kind of cool. Like, I've never played it, but it looks pretty neat. But I am a proponent. I will always agree to separate the art from the artist. I mean, you can't. It's just impossible, especially with social media nowadays, to be like, I can only consume media of someone I agree with 100%. It's impossible. You know, like.
Yeah, especially since we live in the age of you can see any celebrity or even the most minor of developers and anyone's opinions online because of the cancer that is Twitter.
Thank God I'm not on Twitter.
But it really makes all of them look like just, at best, idiots, at worst, like, arrogant a-holes.
I'm just happy I never liked Stephen King. He just left Twitter like last week. Because he was like, I can't deal with it anymore. I can't deal with it. Orange Man exists. I have to go to some other thing. And I'm like, okay. I'm not on Twitter, but I'm also like, okay, Stephen King.
And also, people treat Twitter like real life. It's like, it's so pathetic.
It is also true.
I'm letting go of that destructive.
I have a couple friends that will, like, unironically say stuff like ratio and stuff like that, and I'm like, okay. Like, okay, dot. Phil Fish, I remember you.
What am I looking at? Shadow with flesh wings holding
He's
hands.
literally a two-winged angel, bruh.
I'm evil, but I'm not gonna be angry. Despite this trying to be like kind of a sweet scene, the music is just like bum 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 bum.
Would Shadow be considered a villain or he's not even an anti-hero?
No, he's definitely an anti-hero.
Really? What has he done that's like, I guess this?
He stops like whatever Robotnik's or the ultimate life form in Sonic Adventure 2 and then falls to Earth, presumably dying until he recognized it.
See, I never finished Sonic Adventure 2 because the find the gem stages are so effing boring.
They're pretty bad.
I was just like, I give up.
Even in the Shadow the Hedgehog, where they try to like be like, the deal with Shadow and why he's weird is that after Sonic Adventure 2, he gets amnesia, like the most trite thing in the world. And like in Sonic Heroes, like most of the plot is him being confused of like he thinks he might be a robot. It's a really weird like thing that they tried to do.
Hank, no! Don't write amnesia! Hank!
And clearly they were like, well, we're just gonna run with this for Shadow the Hedgehog. So in the Shadow the Hedgehog, he like might be evil. He kind of thinks like he might be a robot too in some of. That's the neutral playthrough. Like neutral playthrough is him like thinking he's literally a robot. It's so weird.
Give me evil Shadow playthrough. Gib. Whee! Oh,
is this actually a level?
Wow. If you want to do it and finish off, you can. Or call it. Alright, boys. We'll see you next time with... Oh, look at him. He's like, ah!
No, the last level was so complicated. I'm going to practice this.
He said, I can't... The voices in my head! Mom's gonna freak! Yo, it's been like almost 10 years since Damaged Joker from Suicide Squad. Why has there not been something as epically cringe as that since? It sucks.
Well, Joker 2 apparently is a train wreck, but apparently it's not funny cringe, it's just cringe.
Right, yeah, it's... I want funny cringe. I don't want actual cringe. That's no good. Alright guys, we'll see you next time with more Shadow the Hedgehog. Bye.